If you like puzzles, the supply chain really is a fun place to work. It's complicated. People are in a frenzy. They rant and rave on the phone, on texting or whatever. It could be a lot of excitement in the process. Somebody tried to bring sense into it with this whole thing of the supply chain matrix. Okay, so you'll see here, Kraljic, he really made the supply chain matrix, and he put four different quadrants in there, and he was focusing on really two different axes. The one is a profit impact, how much overall profit, high profit versus low profit, and then the amount of supply risk, high risk or low risk. And so he used these two parameters to sit down there and develop this four quadrants of the aspect here that we're looking at. In the top right hand corner, you can see when you're looking at high profit and then high supply chain risk, these are strategic items. You don't want anything to go wrong in this corner over here. They both have a high impact on profit, and they have a high impact on supply risk. It's a big thing. You can't have that go wrong. And those are things probably should consider being like Toyota. This is our engine. Hands off of our engine. Do not touch our engine. And so from that aspect of it, Toyota makes a smart move because all of a sudden now the brains of the car are not at risk. The other parts are things that can be done. And if necessary, Toyota could step in and start doing themselves if the supply chain disintegrated. But that said, that one component, they don't have to worry about somebody forgetting to put the oil pan on. Oh, yeah, and they lose 75,000 cars. That is the core of it. And that probably is where they're based. If you look big picture wise in the automotive industry, where you have a lot of different issues on maintenance and also repairs. So with that, they made a smart move, and you can see that is a strategic item. It's a large part of your system cost, and the engines cost more than any other part of a car, except maybe in the electric vehicle. So really, you want to focus on long-term partnership with suppliers, and if you're going to have people working in that strategic item area, if you have people there, you have to make certain that they are trustworthy, that they've been around a while, and not a fly-by-night organization and disappear after 2 years. And then you look in the bottom right, okay, they have a high impact on profit, low supply risk, and you can have a lot of suppliers over here because of the fact you're not worried about the aspect of the supply because there's probably many suppliers in this market. The biggest thing is make certain their quality because of the fact that it has a high impact on profit. The suppliers you're using, yes, make certain that the quality is there with each one of them. You don't want to have anybody sloppy in this corner over here because it's still part of your profit stream in the process. So focus on cost reduction by competition between suppliers, but they better be darn good suppliers. Your top left is a high supply risk, but low profit impact items. This is the area you can get in trouble on bottleneck components, something that sits on there and it's low profit and doesn't mean much to the overall bottom line unless it's not there. So with that, the suppliers have a power position, so you better make certain it's a good quality supplier. But I guess I've said that for all of them. So make sure your suppliers are all good. But with that being said, the suppliers are power position. Even though it's low impact on profit, you want to make certain that they have the manufacturing capacity to handle you, plus what other business they're doing. And finally, your non-critical items, you can simplify and automate the process as much as possible. So if you can sit down there and classify the different operations, this supply matrix is going to really help you think about what you want to do for the big picture of your organization. So I recommend taking this. This is one of those slides. You want to keep this supply matrix out there and sit down and stick in your back file. And that way you too can pull this out one day when you're doing some strategic decision making and be the hero of the organization because you took this class. If you look on the supplier footprint, okay, look on the different aspects as to how things shifted. This is a good illustration. Once upon a time back in the 80s, suppliers were either US or German for American automotive. And then they started shifting to Mexico, Spain, and Portugal, a lot cheaper labor costs because the US and Germany, they have high labor costs. And then finally, they even got cheaper yet, they went to China, the high-tech industry, originally sourced only in the US And then we started focusing in on Singapore and Malaysia. And now really a lot of it shifted to Taiwan, and China is a big player. But right now, at the time of this recording, we're not necessarily holding hands with a lot of the Chinese technology workers. We're looking at some shifting there because of some concerns about security. So you're looking at really some of the different changes and how things have really focused in. And I think part of it comes down to this aspect of innovative products. What is functional versus innovative? It depends what it is. If it's a functional product, okay, the product clock speed can be slower. Okay, but if it's an innovative product, you want to sit down under and crank that out as quickly as possible, because innovative products can be innovated upon more often than functional products. The functional products tend to be something that's a staple that we always accept for it as it is. The demand characteristics, they're predictable, low profit margin. And if you sat down there and put it on a life expectancy chart, you'd see pretty much that these are really past the peak performance, and you're looking at it's a big industry with low profit margins. The innovative ones are really on the front side of your life expectancy of new products. So that's why it's fast and really unpredictable. So total landed cost, here's the cost to look at: your unit cost overall, how much transportation, your inventory holding costs. Really look at from your perspective, but pay attention to what the other people in the supply chain are doing. What is the handling cost? That would include different aspects of how it's handled, whether it's land or whatever you might have in there with your transportation as well. Duties and taxation, seeing what that's like, and then cost of financing. All of these are costs that I'm certain your accounting office will be on top of, and they may be on top of you if you're not watching them very well. So that being said, your functional products, something that's a staple. I mean, diapers tend to be diapers. You may get some small innovation. Soup, have too much soup, you're always in hot water, and milk. And then your tiers, it depends what the functional process you have out there. It just depends, and you're looking at cost reduction along your supply chain. Innovative products. Now, fashion used to be a pretty staple item with something coming out annually, but now fast fashion has kicked it up. So everything's coming out about every 3 months. Something new is hitting the market, or 1 month. So that happens, and it only stays in fashion for that teeny tiny period of time for the attention span of the typical American, which is actually smaller than a goldfish. A goldfish has an attention span of 7.2 seconds. On social media, Americans have an attention span of 6.8 seconds. So that being said, we have a shorter attention span on social media than a goldfish. Fashion items, it seems like we're getting that short attention span on fashion items, cosmetics, or high-tech projects. Heaven forbid you only have 3 cameras on your iPhone. Now we have to have 4. That's coming down the pike, but they have to do different things and everything else. And so one sings and dances, and one, yeah, you know the story. So appropriate supply chain strategy is pull. That's always the appropriate one. But sometimes if you're looking over here on your functional items, it's pushing through the chain. So you got to watch your costs much more. On the innovative item, it's pull. So you focus on minimizing the total landed cost of all the different areas. This is a good shopping list as to what to go for. Look for low cost countries for functional products. You're looking at China, Taiwan, although Taiwan really is a hotbed for a lot of innovative items as well. On the innovation, focus on reducing lead times and on supply flexibility and sourcing the items close to the market area that you tend to sell it at. So sourcing strategy for components, really look on the Fisher framework in your book, look on the other framework for supply side, and putting the two of them, you can have a really good sourcing strategy, especially based upon some good forecasting, looking at your supply risk, your financial impact overall, and that clock speed really plays a big element. The supply chain matrix, know all 4 of these. Typically, they are test items for a class, but really, this is one of those things that go past this class. Yes, you have the academic part, but I want this to be a functional part in the supply chain. This chart really helps you an awful lot to help make big picture decisions. Once you get it classified right as to what areas you can possibly do, once you decide what you can use for a modular framework and what's integral to the part, that'll help you as well, determining what you can outsource and what you can't. Take care.